Imagine you are caught in a lively debate about your favorite TV show. Perhaps you're passionately defending Friends against a friend who swears The Office is superior. You're flabbergasted, perhaps a little frustrated. How can they possibly miss the genius of Joey's one-liners, the timeless charm of Chandler? Your friend, on the other hand, cannot fathom why you're not equally captivated by Michael Scott's hilarious antics. Beneath these friendly debates about sitcoms, cultural preferences, or even serious political divides, lies a common psychological bias called naive realism. This is our tendency to believe that we see the world objectively, convinced our perception of reality is correct, which often leads us to think that those who disagree are simply wrong, uninformed, or even biased. Naive realism is both simple and deeply insidious. It's rooted in our basic belief that reality exists in an objective, material sense that everyone can access in the same way we do. But our perceptions are far more subjective than we'd like to admit. Take a look at how we respond when someone doesn't share our opinions. We're likely to dismiss their viewpoint as irrational, rather than consider that our own understanding might be limited or shaped by personal bias. This disconnect can seem small, even trivial when discussing personal tastes, but it reveals a deep psychological tendency to regard our opinions as objective truths. This bias operates quietly in the background, preventing us from appreciating alternative viewpoints, making it easy to dismiss those who don't see things our way. For example, imagine a friend insists that their favorite musician is better than yours. Instead of listening to their perspective, we're likely to stick to our own opinion, confident it's more than a preference. It's the truth. This tendency limits our curiosity and closes us off to fresh ideas, preventing us from enjoying the rich, varied perspectives that others bring to the table. But naive realism doesn't only impact minor debates. It plays a significant role in how we relate to larger, more divisive issues. Picture two people with different political opinions. One might see government policies as essential for public welfare, while the other believes in individual liberties above all else. Each side is entrenched in its own views, making it nearly impossible to understand the other's position. Thanks to naive realism, both individuals might see their perspective as fundamentally correct and the others as misguided. Add confirmation bias to the mix, the tendency to seek out information that supports our pre-existing beliefs, and it's no wonder discussions quickly spiral into hostility. Society today is a prime example of naive realism's impact on a grand scale. The COVID-19 pandemic brought it to the forefront, as debates raged about safety measures, vaccinations, and personal freedoms. People could view the same information and arrive at starkly different conclusions based on their underlying beliefs, reinforcing their sense that they were correct, and others were simply misguided. While one person might see strict safety protocols as reasonable and necessary, another could view them as overreaches of authority. When confronted with opposing perspectives, instead of trying to understand them, many people simply double down on their own beliefs. This entrenchment creates a polarized society, one where it becomes increasingly difficult to communicate across divides. If two people can view the same event or data and interpret it in conflicting ways, it suggests that perceptions are highly personal, shaped by past experiences, values, and emotional responses. The January 6th Capitol incident in the United States is a compelling example. People witnessed the same event yet understood it differently, based on their political leanings. For some, it was an insurrection. For others, it was a defense of democracy. These polarized views reflect how naive realism creates a feedback loop, where differing opinions are seen as distortions rather than valid perspectives. This should remind us that our perception of reality is influenced by layers of subjectivity, even if we aren't always conscious of it. To compound matters, our brains are wired to simplify and make sense of the world in a way that feels complete and correct. We rely heavily on a mental process called top-down processing, where general ideas about the world influence how we interpret specifics. This mental shortcut is useful because it saves time and energy in a complex world filled with endless details, but it also reinforces naive realism. When we approach the world with fixed expectations, we're more likely to filter out information that doesn't align with those expectations. The difficulty in seeing the subjective nature of reality lies not only in how our brains are wired, but also in the difficulty of imagining an objective reality separate from our perception. There is, however, a way to escape the clutches of naive realism. It begins with an awareness that our experiences and beliefs are just that. Our experiences and beliefs shaped by our lives, values, and biases. By recognizing our views as inherently subjective, we open ourselves to curiosity, empathy, and respect for others' perspectives. When discussing differences, whether about art, politics, or pandemic protocols, shifting from an adversarial stance to one of exploration, can transform arguments into meaningful exchanges. The impact of naive realism on personal relationships is also significant. Family and friends may hold opposing views on important matters, leading to tension if we insist on defending our perspective as the only valid one. In such cases, naive realism could blind us to the reasons behind others' actions or concerns, framing them as stubborn or unreasonable, rather than understanding them as different assessments of risk. If we assume our view is the only rational one, misunderstandings multiply. But if we choose to understand rather than dismiss, these situations can foster a deeper connection with those around us, even amid disagreement. Developing a mindset that avoids naive realism is possible, and the benefits are substantial. Imagine transforming every debate, every differing opinion, into a chance to learn and understand rather than an obstacle. By seeing our perspective as one of many, we gain humility and openness, qualities that enrich our relationships and expand our worldview. It's like being in a foreign country where gestures and social norms differ from those back home. Instead of judging these differences, we can choose to embrace them, gaining insight into the ways others see the world. Ultimately, naive realism offers a glimpse into the paradox of human experience. While we each inhabit a personal reality shaped by our perceptions, the reality itself may be more varied than we could ever fully grasp. Embracing this paradox allows us to connect across divides, replacing certainty with curiosity and defensiveness with empathy. And when we do, the world opens up, no longer a battlefield of right and wrong, but a mosaic of diverse perspectives, each adding depth to the collective human experience. In this way, naive realism is not just a bias, but an invitation to broaden our understanding and savor the complexity of a world viewed through many different lenses. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.